Hi, I'm Kent. Let's see if we can make a tool to make glazing planters easier. I just had a successful bisque firing, and so that means I have a lot of pots to glaze. I've been practicing my pottery on planters in particular. There's not too much special about planters. They're relatively simple forms, except they have a hole in the bottom for good drainage. So here's an example. This is kind of a bowl shape, and it has a hole that I put in the bottom. Here's another, and one more. So these are all different forms, but the idea is all the same. They have a place for the dirt and then a place for excess water to come out. I also make a lot of these little kind of test cups, and I've turned these into candles and a variety of other things, and I don't have drainage holes in these. These are actually a lot easier to glaze, and it's not just because they're smaller, it's because I can use displacement. I've tried a few different ways to apply glaze. I think most beginners will brush on their glaze. Brushing is not my strength nor my interest, so I do that as little as possible. Occasionally, I will pour the glaze on the outside, basically cascade it down the edge of the pot. That works okay, except getting coverage consistent is really a challenge for me. I think I need to go over more times than I typically do. The way I've been glazing the vast majority of my pots recently has been dipping them. So I'll take the pot and basically just dip it straight in the glaze. The advantage of dipping is that I get a very consistent layer of glaze on the pot. The challenge is I don't often have enough glaze for dipping to be successful. With a pot like this, I don't need much glaze. I can take the pot and dip it upside down, and that will capture air inside of the pot. The air will displace the glaze, and so the level of the glaze will actually come up. So you need a lot less glaze than it looks like. This is basically like a diving bell. The air gets trapped in there, and there's no place for it to go. Or if you watch the most recent Avatar movie, the plants that capture all the air underwater, same idea. The air gets trapped. So let me show you how this works. So here's some glaze that's all mixed up and my pot, and if you look from the side, there probably isn't enough to go ahead and cover the pot if I was to drop it in. Except there actually is enough because of displacement. So I can take the pot and then push it down, and the level of the glaze rises quite a bit, specifically by the volume of the air displaced. Let it sit for a few seconds, pull it out. Now I have a nice even coat of glaze. There usually winds up being a little bit on the rim, which I like. That's from either not putting the pot down exactly straight or the air compressing just a little bit. I'll show you again. Here's another pot. Again, the level is below the bottom. However, when I push it, the level rises. And I want to do one more. There was a bubble that time, so there'll be a little bit more glaze on the inside. Yeah, that's where the bubble was. But that's okay. I'm going to glaze the inside of these later. So what about these? Well, there's two problems. One, this container isn't big enough. And two, if I pushed it down, all the air would escape out of this hole here. In the past, I've tried holding my finger here. That kind of sort of works, but not always. Often I'll let go inadvertently and all the air will come out. So I want to glaze these planters in this glaze here, and it turns out I actually have a bunch of these. I think I could just put it down and I could glaze it all, but that would glaze the inside of this. So that's the other reason to use displacement, is it lets me glaze the outside of the pot without glazing the inside. So how can I plug this hole? One idea is just cover up from the outside, and then I could dip it the same, although I have to worry about that sealing, and the air is going to want to push out. I really think I want to put something on the inside that'll prevent the air from escaping. So I went looking on Amazon for something I might be able to use, and I found these. These are silicone baking mats. So I think the idea is you can put cookies or something on it and it doesn't stick, and they're bright colors so you guys can see them on camera. I think I want to do is cut out a small piece of this that I can fit inside the bottom of the pot. Then I want to find a way that I can hold on to it from the outside. So I've got my knife here. I'm just going to cut off a couple inches. And then I think I'm going to cut it in 2 squares. I'm going to use a couple of layers so that it's a little bit stiffer. And then the idea is that I can then shove this down into there. The air will push against the silicone and then won't be able to escape. That's the theory. So next, I need a way to stick these in there. And I think for that, I'm going to use a zip tie as a handle. So I'm going to puncture a little hole in the middle that I want big enough for the zip tie, but not too big for extra air to come out. And shove the zip tie through. So a little knob on the end will act as a stop, so it can't pull all the way through. And now I can take this, thread it through my pot, pull it down secure, and hopefully this will be an airtight connection. And just for some extra insurance, I got an old tube of silicone here. I'm going to go and blob some on. I'm worried the air might escape around the zip tie here. That side and the other. Okay, let me let this cure and then we'll give it a test. All right, the silicone has cured, so let's give this tool a try. I went ahead and mixed my glaze up again since it's been sitting. Let's push it down in the bottom there. And I want to give it a tug so that it seals, and we'll see if we have any bubbles. Ooh, I think it's working. All right, the real test is when we flip it up. Oh, looks like we leaked a little bit, but not too bad. That's the inside, so yeah, we definitely got a couple bubbles. So we definitely got some in there. Let's try it again. I put it in, give it a tug. This is so much easier than trying to pour glaze on. It's extremely buoyant. There we go, much better. And while I was at it, I went ahead and made one more. So let's give this one a try as well. Slide it through, a good tug, and push down. All right, and that one looks good as well. Not sure what happened with this first one here. Maybe I just slipped a little bit, but the subsequent two worked just fine, and they worked with both versions. That is way, way easier than any of the other methods I've tried so far. I'll leave a link to the pads I got down below just in case you want to try and make one yourself. It's just that and a zip tie. Do you have any favorite ways to glaze planters? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, let me know.